January was a pretty rough month for Kent Hovind. You know, his wife left him, he lost the Genesis Baptist Church YouTube channel, and a bunch of other stuff happened. Let's check in with this video from Thursday, January 30th, and just see how he's doing. Of course, this is his open mic, which is no longer an open mic because it reached a point where he finally got tired of everyone calling in and just wanting to call him out for being a terrible person. Who'd have thought, Kent, that being a scumbag would come back when you open up your platform to other people coming in? They're gonna call you that. Welcome to the internet, buddy. That's how it works. Let's get to it, though.
Good evening, folks. Is audio working for the first few seconds this time?
Yeah, but it looks like your respiratory system isn't. You just immediately start choking there.
We missed it a couple times. According to evolution, things get better automatically. Here we are, January 30th, 2025. We believe evolution is the dumbest and most dangerous religious cult in the history of the world. Prove me wrong. You can send in your messages tonight. They got something up on screen where they can get their message in. They know how to do that? Okay.
1. Evolution in no way, shape, or form quantifies as a religion. 2. It is not a cult because it meets none of the criteria to be a cult. 3. Dangerous. A basic understanding of a natural process of biology is not intrinsically dangerous. People are dangerous, and people who are already going to do horrible things will likely take advantage of ideas, philosophies, concepts, what have you, however you want to articulate it, things that they feel may benefit their opinion. So yeah, you're wrong on all counts. I win.
Okay, all kinds of things going on here. We're on Facebook, TikTok, Rumble. We took us off of YouTube again. So
No, Kent, and I'm always going to bring this up. By your logic, you took yourself off, because that's the same logic being applied by the concept that people like you always use where a person sends themselves to hell. God doesn't do it, even though God's the one who decides these things, or has otherwise defined the criteria by which such a decision is made. Therefore, you got your own channel deleted. So, deal with it. Quit blaming they, quit blaming them. It was you, by your own actions.
I heard it's going to go focus on the other ones. I like Rumble, boy. You can go ahead and say what you want.
Yeah, you're focused on the other ones, even though your tech guys are streaming to the YouTube channel, because that's where this is. This is on the Kent channel. The at tag for it is at Evolutionist Worst Nightmare, because Kent has at least like 3 or 4 known sock accounts, just kind of, well, not really sock accounts, but like secondary accounts that are clearly under his umbrella. They're not his. We know Kent doesn't understand how to make a YouTube channel. He doesn't understand any of this stuff, but his tech people are doing it on his behalf is the point. And that's one of them. Oddly enough, the most recent video wasn't streamed to YouTube, so his tech people may have stopped. They have broken the link to stream on YouTube to this channel. We'll find out today, tomorrow range for the Pastor Meister and Kent's Sunday streams. But yeah, he's going to brag about Rumble, and it's like, Kent, you get simulcast everywhere. You don't care what you say. You never care what you say. And of course Rumble lets you say whatever because it's a haven of right-wing idiocy, and it's right up your alley. Conspiracy theorists, racist bullshittery. Yeah, Rumble's great. Then stay there, fucker.
You can actually talk about vaccines, and they don't shut you off.
Wow. Maybe the lies you idiots tell constantly are extremely dangerous on a global scale, which has been demonstrated time and time again, and you idiots just go, nuh-uh. That's the furthest I'll go into it. I would like this video to stay monetized. Up yours, Kent.
How dangerous they are. Yeah, okay. Here we are. Got to move that January. Nope, that was Sir Sick. Today, move it over to the 31st. Okay, you can help us stay open for free. Join our 777 Club. A couple ways to join. I don't know how to do it online, drdino.com. Dr. D-R-D-I-N-O Secretary, there it is, at gmail.com is the secretary's email.
Yeah, Dr. Dino Secretary at Gmail. It's just, it can't be at Dr. Dino. It can't be Secretary at Dr. Dino. No. It's got to be that kind of insanity. Just genius stuff. Genius tech skills over there. I could handle stuff better remotely than the people who are actually there can handle this stuff. On that note, while Kent shills for a stupid 777 club, if you would like to support me and my efforts, check the links down below. You got Patreon, you can become a channel member. Super thanks are definitely appreciated. Super stickers, if you catch me on a live stream, super chats are always awesome. Or if you just want to share videos or otherwise just, leave a like and a comment and be like, hey, Chris, good stuff. Or if you don't like my stuff and you leave a comment, you're going to be helping out either way. So, just gauge your interactions accordingly is all I'm saying. It's weird how a bunch of people on YouTube who really think they're doing something by leaving some sort of quarter-ass snark comment don't realize that by engaging with the channel, they're boosting it and making it where more people will see it. So, keep it up, guys. Or don't. I don't care. Anyway, back to this moron.
Or 855 Big Dino extension 1.
Or you could just call Kent Hovind directly, because that's another thing that happened, is this man's tech crew wound up doing a test stream which leaked Kent Hovind's actual cell phone number. That information is out there now. Again, my official stance is do not call him, do not contact him, do not harass him. Just don't do it. That's not cool. Moving on.
Questions, go to drdino.com. Don't ask me. Open for 8.79 years now for free, because people love the Lord.
Yeah, and my website's been running for damn near 18 years. My website's been running since you were put in prison, man. So, I seem to be doing a pretty good job here, Kent. Better than you.
Support us. Jesus sat over against the treasury and beheld how the people cast money into the treasury.
And so he just immediately goes into some sort of Bible verse. This is another thing about Kent. He can't even preach well. He can't even establish like a principle to his sermon. And I think preaching methods in the West, the typical Christian pastor, the way they do things is dumb. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's a good method, but they at least create a concise narrative with everything, which at least makes like the ramblings they all do about day-to-day life that little bit more semi-appropriate, and that it actually has something to do with whatever they're saying. But Kent's just immediately off into this. What does it say? The widow's offering. Okay, I mean, you just immediately shift gears. You don't connect it with something. You're a terrible orator, Kent. Just terrible. Is there anything this man's actually good at? Like, seriously, the more I watch of Kent, the more I question how he ever became any kind of success. Because he's terrible at everything.
Apparently, it's important to Jesus to watch and see what you do with if you're giving to the Lord's work, because he was watching it.
Yep, be sure to give to my work, because the more you support me, the more time I will have to make more content. Of all types, not just videos, but my various side projects, blog articles, detailed videos. I'll be able to take time and craft, more, just less raw, more polished content, should I so choose. Because that takes time. Time I don't have. That takes energy. Energy I don't have because I don't have the time to rest and focus on these things. Because unlike Kent, I do real work. So I have to wedge this stuff in on off days and other points in the afternoon before I go to sleep. To wake up and do it all over again. Welcome to the world, baby. So yes, if you can support me, and I hate to show for money, but if you can't support me, please do. That's the last I'll try to bring it up. Hovind, back for money.
In the Old Testament, they were commanded to give a tithe, 10% of your increase. So if you got 50 sheep and you take care of them all year and they have 20 babies, your increase is 20. So 10% of the increase belongs to God. And so that's important. That's a whole tithing lesson some other day. And there came a certain poor widow, and she threw in 2 mites, which make a farthing. And he called unto him his disciples, and saith, Verily.
Please tell me, sorry, I was eating lunch while I did this. Please tell me what God needs with 10% of whatever your increases are. That really just sounds like a scam for people who don't actually do anything to get things given to them. Oh yeah, give the church 10%. If everyone gives 10%, they've got like, and let's say there's 30 people, that's like 300%'s worth of growth between the populace. That's a nice chunk of change. Chunk of resources, what have you, and then they can do with what they will. And it's just given to them. They don't have to work for it. But the people who, brought about this increase, oh, they had to work for it. They had to make sure the calves didn't die. All this stuff. It's insane. Like, it's obviously a scam. But, it's only bad if it's not for Jesus. You can lie, you can scam, you can cheat, you can steal, you can murder for Jesus. It's all good. It's all good as long as it's for Jesus. What a load of shit.
I say unto you, this poor widow hath cast in more than all they which have cast into the treasury. For they did cast in of their abundance, but she of all of her want did cast in all that she had, even all her living. Ernie, one of our board members years ago, is retired now, but he...
Oh, man. I didn't expect this to get good right from the get-go, but let's just see where it goes.
Came to our board meeting Tuesday here at Dinosaur Adventureland. Did you meet Ernie when he came, brother?
I've seen him.
Yeah, okay. He's been a friend of mine for 35 years. He was CSC board member for many years, and he handled all the finances and donations. At the meeting the other day, he said, Brother Hovind, many times we would get a letter from some poverty-stricken country with a gift.
And there we go. The audio went to crap.
To CSE for less than a dime. Some of these people in poor countries were sending in 8 cents and 5 cents. That's all they had. It made him cry. It made me too. We just want to serve the Lord. If you want to help, great. If not,
You sure can't. And your tears mean nothing. Ernie Land's tears mean nothing. No emotion you or anyone associated with you shows will ever mean anything because we know how empty it is.
not get out of the way. We're going to do it anyway, okay? So.
Nope, I'm going to stand right in your way the entire time. Because I have fun doing this, Kent. Now I see why so many different YouTubers will devote so much time and energy to particular lolcows. Because it's just fascinating to watch the slow and steady and inevitable destruction of these people. And I guess I just came in at the right time to just have the right set of things happen for me to just be able to roll with this. I'm not stopping, Kent. And I hope every day I'm a thorn in your side. Just that little bit, enough to annoy you. But still not something you can easily just swat away. Because I'm not playing by your rules. Which looks like you're not playing by, too many games with anyone anyway, because the debate scene seems to have dried up completely with you. So, that may or may not have something to do with your banning, or maybe Donnie finally just got tired of you. But that's neither here nor there. Let's finish up this story.
We got our van back today. Joseph drove that thing all the way from California in 2 days. Short story here.
Can you show us a picture of the Dino van? Can you prove that the Dino van is there? I don't believe you until I see it.
We had a singing group come. You might remember.
It's not a short story, Kent. Also, you've told the story 100 times. Everyone knows the story. No one cares. The van's back. It doesn't matter at all. Watch, this fucker is going to tell this story even after the fact, when it's now completely irrelevant. He's going to be like, for the next 3 months, we got our van back, we got our van back. That's great. No one cares.
Remember them, 8 months ago now? They came here to sing for us, and their Yukon broke down. Transmission went out. I said, how are we going to get home? The place in Mobile that was going to fix the transmission said, well, it's going to take us 2 weeks. I said, take our Dino van. We don't use it anymore. We don't need it. Take it, and they drove it to California. Well, we finally got it back at 2 o'clock today. So we're going to sell it, okay? It's here if you want to get it. It's a 2012 GMC, 9-passenger conversion van. Excellent. New motor and transmission 30,000 miles ago. Excellent shape, leather upholstery, raised top, dual, air, no accidents.
There's something I really wonder with Kent. That weird giggle he does out of nowhere, is that a tell for him lying? Like when he says motor and transmission 30,000 miles ago, like he giggles and he says random things. It's like, I wonder if he's just outright lying and he knows it and that's a tell. So try to pay attention to that, see what you can catch of that, because that's what I've been doing recently. Just making mental note of whenever he has that stupid giggle.
Singing group drove it to California and we finally got it back. Got all the power stuff in there. Someone donated it to us years ago. 2012 custom van for sale. Anywhere from 15 to 35,000, what they typically go for is what the internet says. Prices for a 2012 GMC Savannah conversion van, $15,000 to $35,000. Average selling price, $22,000. We'd like to get $19,000.
I'll give you 10% of my growth this year so far, which, based on the way things have been going, is like a nickel. But, donate it to me because I'm the guy giving everything. Giving everything to Ken Hovind Ministry. So I deserve the Dino van. Hovind.
Get $4 million for it, but I'd like to get $19,000 for it. If you want to help us out, you can keep. Now, if you'll keep the stickers on there, Dinosaur Adventureland, we'll pay you $50 a month for the first year, just for advertising for us. Or you can get a heat gun, and they come right off with a heat gun. Like some guys from Washington State called me a couple of years ago. Said, Brother Hovind, we love your ministry. We wrap vehicles for a living. Can we come down and wrap your van? I said, yeah.
No, he paid for that shit to happen.
What they did. I think it's pretty cool. It's right out front here. We finally got it back. Michael Jackson's car sold for $100,000. Paris, I don't know who Paris Hilton is, but $375,000 for a car. Jay Leno's car, Shaquille O'Neal's car. Someday the Dino van's going to be worth millions since it was used by the most hated man on the internet.
Please, Kent, you wish you were the most hated man on the internet. You aren't important enough for people to hate.
I drove it all over the country, traveling and preaching. So it's on sale. $19,000.
Really? You did? Kent, you're telling me you drove a 2012 van all over the country. All over the country. A 2012 van. You drove it. Kent, where were you in 2012? So, for those who don't know, and I know you all know this, but for those who don't know, because there's going to be that one guy who's confused, that was right in the middle of Kent's federal prison stint. So you were certainly not driving that around, because after getting out of prison, you've mostly stayed locked down in Pensacola and then Linux. You haven't really gone anywhere like you used to, which is fine and understandable. But don't say you drove that van across the country. Let's go back a hair.
Someday the Dino van's going to be worth millions since it was used by the most hated man on the internet. I drove it all over the country, traveling and preaching.
No, you didn't, Kent. Just no, you didn't.
So it's on sale. $19,000. That's $200,000 below value.
I'll give you 5 cents. Take it or leave it.
Yeah. So if you're interested, give me a call. Okay, enough advertising there.
Oh, I'll give you a call, all right. I mean, I could pull up your actual number right now and call you about the Dino van. I could literally do it as I'm recording this and get you. Whether you'd answer or not is another story. Not going to do it, but I could. And that's funny.
I'm 855 Big Dino extension 3. My phone's in the house, but across the street. So call after if you want to get it. First come, first serve. Let's see. I don't know who BYJ by Jews is, but I typed in evidence for evolution, and this came up. They use the same things every time. There is no evidence for evolution.
Except there is, and you just ignore it outright. And you want to talk about using the same things all the time, maybe because they're actual facts. Meanwhile, the debunked garbage you bring up constantly that other creationists say to not even use. Well, that's pretty damn telling when other people on your side say your arguments suck. Should tell you something, Kent.
None. None at all. Doesn't exist. You guys believe it. It's all in your mind. It's imaginary. Evidence. Fossils. Comparative anatomy. Embryo development. I cannot believe they're still teaching these three things. You have to be out of your mind.
I cannot believe. Kent, I cannot believe that people still think that the world is 6,000 years old, that you people actually believe anything from that magic book of bullshit. I can't believe there's people out there who think the earth is flat, but they're out there. The thing is, all those ideas are actually stupid, whereas evolutionary biology is a fact. Get over it.
Said on this website, fossils are the remains of non-degraded parts of living beings found within rocks. I would agree. We've got lots of fossils in our museum. You visitors, did you get to tour the Science Center and see our fossil collection and all that? Not yet? You guys did? Oh.
Wow. This is Ken Hovind literally saying, "Look at these things I have. Didn't you get to see them? Aren't they neat? Therefore, my argument is good." Hovind.
Unbelievable. We got some cool stuff in there. The layer from which watch this now. The layer from which the fossils is recovered decides the age of the fossil. How do they tell the age of the fossil? By which layer it comes from. Then if you search the scriptures, search the science books, you'll find out they tell the age of the layers by the fossils it contains. Complete circular reasoning.
No, it's not, and this is explained in detail. I can't recall exactly how to articulate why it's not, because there's a little nuance involved and I can never remember all the steps. But it's very well explained in sources that you yourself cite to try to speak against it. It's really funny. But, half your slides debunk themselves when you look at the citations. But that's neither here nor there. It's not circular reasoning. It just appears that to be idiots like you who reduce everything down to such basic, featureless, just quips, rather than looking at the actual processes, the actual science involved.
Let's see. One of the things they teach in the school has got to be one of the dumbest things taught in world history. They teach the kids, let me get rid of some stuff here. Come on. Okay. Get my chart out here. They teach the kids the absolutely stupid geologic column. They say the layers are different ages. Now stop and think. Just think for a minute, okay? I taught earth science for 15 years. I'll debate any of you guys on this topic, okay?
Debate me, bro. Debate me. Hovind. I'll debate you. Once again, Kent, because that's how everything is decided. All reality is decided by people debating Ken Hovind. That's the be-all, end-all of all facts and reality. You're the equivalent of like a middle school bully. Not even a very good one. That's your entire shtick. Fight me, bro. Debate me, bro. It's the same thing. Man, you're pathetic.
Say the top layer is younger. My question is very simple. If it's younger, where did it come from? Did it come from outer space? How could this layer be younger? Where did it come from?
The layer thing has been explained ad nauseum to you and is one of the pinnacle examples of your inability to even acknowledge that a point has been brought up that you requested, that someone has answered a concern of yours. The fact that you will literally, in the very discussion where it's explained, just ignore that there was an explanation provided for what the reasons we say things have an age, the way we define an age to them. Even when proper analogies are brought up, like how old you are versus how old the material that made you up is, that are perfectly functional analogies to dating of the layers in the geologic column. You just whine about it, ignore it, and then ask the question again in that order. There's no point in having a discussion with you because this is how you behave. It's beyond childish.
All the layers are the same age. There is no such thing as a geologic column. But in 1830, they made up this stupid thing and gave each of them a name. Oh, yeah.
Except there is a geologic column, and you're obsessed with a book edition from 1611, so I wouldn't go talking about the ages of books there, Kent, or the time that things happened in.
Jurassic and Triassic and Mississippian, Devonian, Silurian, Ordovician. It's all baloney. Doesn't exist anywhere. I'll debate anybody on that topic.
And please explain in explicit detail that accounts for all the variables as to why only certain fossils will be found in certain layers, why these layers contain usually consistent properties, depending again on the geographic area, or the geographic area they were at the time, I should say, why the consistency in the properties of these layers, in the order, which is rarely ever seen outside of order, and that's only, again, due to geological processes moving things. you just claim, oh, the flood, but nothing you say in your flood defense actually explains what's observed in the geologic layers, forming a geologic column that totally exists, is mapped out, is an understood principle, and is used daily by fields of industry that I'm sure you support heavily. Oil industry sure takes advantage of it, but you again just deny that, even though it's, you know, it's an absolute fact, like everything else you just hand wave away.
Matter of fact, let me go, what slide number is that? Slide number 25. Let me make a note. I'll come back to that. 25. Okay. Here we go. There is no geologic column, okay? It does not exist. It's called, that's actually the Atheist Bible, not that one. This one over here.
No, it's not. Like everything to do with evolution, it's clearly an observed property of the Earth. And the explanation provided accounts for all the observed properties. It's that simple, Kent.
That's their Bible. That's the way they think. Well, back in the Cenozoic period, there's no such thing as a Cenozoic period. No such thing. Atheists been shouting, the Bible's not true. They hate God, okay?
Wish there was no such thing as a Kent Hovind. And once again, Kent, I hate your God as much as I hate the character Voldemort from Harry Potter. The commonality between your God and and Voldemort from Harry Potter, the two commonalities being, one, neither of them actually exist. They're just characters in stories. And two, they're characters in stories that I don't give a flying fuck about. Oh, and they're both the actual antagonists in the story, contrary to what you think about your God. Obviously, that character is the bad guy.
So the geologic column does not exist anywhere in the world. I cover this on video number 4 of my series. If you get that, full seminar series, 18 hours for $50. You can get it, copy it, give it, send it back, get your money back. Can't beat a deal like that. Okay, one of the biggest...
Or just watch it on YouTube and skip the middleman. Download the torrents like I was graciously provided by an awesome friend of the channel, who may or may not secretly be Kim Jong-un in disguise. That Scottish accent's fake. You can't fool me there, buddy. Deep Yamato lore there. But, no. I mean, I've got your entire seminar. It sucks. We looked at DVD number 5. Took 4 hours, but we did it. If you haven't seen my watching of DVD number 5 live with my wonderful audience, check back a few videos back in the live tab. You'll find it. Let's continue.
Lies used in today is to get people to believe the silly idea that the layers are different ages. Stop and think. Where are they coming from? Every speck of dirt on the planet is the same age. Whether it's 6,000 or 6 trillion, it doesn't matter. The point is, they're the same age.
How old is your car, Kent? All the metal and stuff existed well before the car itself was constructed, but you still describe the age of the car based on when it was manufactured, when a certain this is a complete object thing, because you're describing the object, not the material itself. When describing the layers, it's talk about the age of the layer, we're talking about the age of the layer of the sedimentary structure, not the matter itself. When we talk about the age of a person, we're talking about the age of that constituent being, generally brought from the date of birth, as makes perfect sense. Not from some arbitrary line going back to whenever the particles that made them up were formed. It's just not how we age anything. And you think this is an argument, and it's not, Kent. It's your most pathetic argument, which is saying a lot given they're all bottom tier garbage. But this layer thing, it's so stupid. More so than anything else, that it is definitely the most ridiculous. We can agree on that, even if it's not the stupidest. Some people would say other arguments are stupider. It's definitely the most ridiculous one for you to keep pushing like you do. Give it up, old man. You're just showing how stupid you are every time you do that.
The dumb idea started in the late 1700s. Charles Lyell was the main guy that did this, and he really had a great profound influence on Charles Darwin. There is no geologic column. It's fiction. It's like the tooth fairy, okay? There's no tooth fairy. I don't want to burst your bubble. There's no Santa Claus. There's no Easter Bunny, and there's no geologic column.
And there's no Jesus. There's no God. There's no Allah. There probably was a dude named Buddha. I don't know. I don't care. Get over it, Kent. Don't want to burst your bubble. But there is a geologic column. And in a way, Santa Claus is still more real than your deity and your deity's sidekick, mini deity, because Santa Claus as a concept is rationalized in the real world through people's actions through holiday season, things parents will do for their kids usually. So in that moment, the parents are Santa. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I forgot. That's way too complex of a relationship of ideas and abstract concepts into tangible entities and symbolism for you to get. Because something we all know is that Kent doesn't actually understand symbolism or understand much of anything. Doesn't even know his own Bible that well, honestly. It's pretty pathetic. But, right. Let's keep going.
Doesn't exist. Their whole worldview is based on a non-existent geologic column. And it's all based from this Charles Lyell, the British lawyer who hated the Bible. He wanted to find a way to discredit it. And he knew back at his day, almost everybody believed the earth was 6,000 years old because that's what the Bible dates add up to. He didn't like that. So
You know, what's funny is you all stress over that's what the dates in the Bible add up to, 6,000 years, but, you know, that's just your interpretation of stuff. You could be wrong, very wrong. I mean, you're obviously wrong with what reality is, but even with what Magic Book says, you could actually be wrong on that interpretation. But you never say you are. Y'all would never admit you are. Y'all would just go through the same math, and it's like, well, okay, I mean, you know, that's what they add up to. That doesn't mean that's what it actually says. In fact, it doesn't say that. It's just giving you some ages. It can be skipping people. It can be any number of things. Who knows? And I know there's all kinds of apologetics around that. I don't care for the details. It's just the principle of this isn't what the book says. It doesn't say, and thus add up the years, and this is how old, you know, the world was at this time. You know, no. You just decided we're going to figure out how old it is based on this. It's kind of funny because you always say you never want to put your interpretation or add to the word or whatever, but you do that with your Hovind theory. Young Earth creationists do that with the 6,000 year obsession. You know, all this stuff. It's crazy.
Invented the crazy geologic column all over the world. Right here. All over the world, petrified trees are found standing straight up, petrified, running through all these layers. You're from Birmingham. There's a coal mine up in Birmingham. A friend of mine works up there as a manager. He finds, when they dig in the coal up there, they find petrified trees standing up, running through the seams of coal. We got 2 pieces in our science center here. We'll show you tomorrow.
Yeah, never running through 2 completely isolated coal layers. Never running through 2 isolated and independent geologic layers. It's always relegated to the same strata. So your point means nothing. And the, as y'all call them, polystrate trees have been explained, as has everything every creationist has ever said, explained in immaculate detail.
Petrified trees, about yay big, still have the bark on them, indicating had to be buried quickly, okay? Petrified trees in the vertical position are found all over the world, guys. There is no geologic...
I got a petrified finger in the vertical position right now, pointing in your direction. Well, it's not petrified, but it sure is vertical. I'm sure is pointing in your direction. How about that? Oh, I'm just being stupid for the hell of it. I love it.
Column, it does not exist. So give it up. But they date the fossils by the layers, and they date the layers by the fossils. I'll show you. Circular reasoning.
You've already been over this. That's another thing, and this isn't just Kent being old. He did this in his slides previously and in his presentations previously. He just loops around without any reason. It's just a constant stream of whatever that he prepares for. That's the scary thing, is that he prepares this stuff to be rambling madness. It's just wild.
Right here. They say the layers are different ages. Why are there no erosion marks between the layers? Why is no soil built up between the layers? Why are there no tree roots going down?
Can't you understand any material that would aggregate would become part of the next layer, right? Like, I mean, your questions are pretty nonsensical, which is perfectly normal for you, but I just gotta point it out that the questions you're asking are, well, say there's no such thing as a stupid question, but there is, and those are.
Those layers all formed within each one's a different tide, about 6 hours, 12 and a half minutes apart. Okay? This guy said, the intelligent layman has long suspected circular reasoning in the use of rocks to date fossils and fossils to date rocks.
Yes, and if memory serves, they go on to explain in detail why the reasoning isn't circular. I think Logic covered this over 10 years ago. And certainly other people had covered it before because you've been using this quote forever. But that's the first point where I was made aware of this, because Logic was the first person who was the person who made me aware of you, brought you to my attention to a point where I had a laugh, and then when you got out of prison, I began following your post-prison activities.
Yeah. The geologist had never bothered to think of a good reply, feeling the explanations are not worth the trouble as long as the work brings results. It cannot be denied from a strictly philosophical standpoint.
Oh wait, that was see also the beginning by Walt Brown from CSE. Okay, so I just had to look at the source he was going for. Okay, yeah, so all from the same page. Meh. I'm sure, again, if memory serves, he explains in this, but if not, it's explained either way, so this quote is irrelevant, and that's another thing I've got to point out, since it comes up, is that, Kent, I really don't care about your quotes. All I care about is the facts. So your idea of discrediting stuff by trying to claim that it's intentionally deceptive isn't gonna work, because it's obviously not. If it was some massive conspiracy, it would fall apart. That's what I don't get with you conspiracy theorists, is that you think this massive thing that you guys know about wouldn't just immediately fall apart. It's crazy.
The geologist had never bothered to think of a good reply, feeling the explanations are not worth the trouble as long as the work brings results. It cannot be denied from a strictly philosophical standpoint. Geologists are arguing in a circle. The succession of organisms has been determined by a study of their remains embedded in the rocks, that'd be the fossils, and the relative ages of the rocks is determined by the organisms. Yeah, they've known this for years. Fossils have been and still are the best and most accurate method of dating and correlating the rocks in which they occur. Apart from very modern examples, I can think of no cases of radioactive decay being used to date fossils. They date the fossils by the layers. And radiometric dating would not have been feasible if the geologic column had not been erected first. Right. Paleontologists cannot operate this way. There's no way simply to look.
Yeah, on Talk Origins, those first comments by what was the name? Well, the ones I was talking about originally. It explains where the quote mine goes. It's always a quote mine. If you look it up, it is invariably a quote mine, or the person is not an authority on what they're talking about, so it becomes irrelevant.
Look at a fossil and say how old it is unless you know the age of the.
I mean, honestly, I don't know why I go through the trouble of actually looking up some of this stuff in real time, but I guess I just do it to sort of demonstrate how easy it is to get even a cursory counterpoint to these things. Because, I do these reactions live, not as a matter of debunking Kent. Everything's already been argued against, but as a matter of a chance for comedy, a chance for continuing to point out his craziness, and just whatever value it brings for people to just listen and enjoy this. I don't know. Yeah, you do it for fun. You do it for the lulz. That's what you do with a lol cow. You milk it for the laughs. Not much to laugh at here, but there sure is plenty of a basic Ken Hovind primer to go through for anyone who's new to this man.
The rocks it comes from. That's Niles Eldredge, a brand name evolutionist. This poses something of a problem.
A brand name Good Lord, Kent. Could you at least talk like you got some sense?
If we date the rocks by the fossils, how can we then turn around and talk about patterns of evolutionary change through time? Good observation, Niles. Why didn't you follow through on it? The rocks do date the fossils.
Ooh, sounding angry there, Kent. Of course, you being angry seems to be the norm nowadays.
But the fossils date the rocks more accurately. Who on earth is dumb enough to say such a thing? The charge of circular reasoning can be handled several ways. You can ignore it. It's not your business. Let the professionals do it. That's one way they say it. It can be denied, call down the law of evolution. It can be admitted, it can be avoided. Are the authorities maintaining that evolution is documented by geology and geology is documented by evolution? Isn't this a circular argument? Biologists, help. They've known this for years. It doesn't exist. The geologic column does not exist. Let me go back to slide number 26 and see the other stuff they're talking about. Let's see. Fossils.
I mean, this is just what Ken's gonna do this entire time, and he's like, get some comments on here from no one who's watching his stuff because no one watches, and no one wants to send in a one-sided text question from our side. There is something I want to call Kent and ask about in this scenario, in these live call-in, programs. But since he's not taking calls, there is no point. I do not want a one-sided conversation on it. I want a back and forth. And no, I'm not going to go through the process of calling 855 Big Dino to set up a damn debate for what amounts to just some absurdity I want to point out. But I want to point it out in the context of what he says as a reaction to what he says about my particular questions on this completely random subject, but one that I found interesting. But of course, until he opens up calls again, that's not going to happen. But when it does, it'll be interesting.
Let's see. The layer from which the fossil is recovered decides the age of the fossil. Fossils found deeper down are older compared to ones found in the upper layer. This is pure baloney. Watch the video. It's been out for 30 years, I think, or maybe 40 years. Experiments in stratification. Just Google that on YouTube. Experiments in...
Just Google that on YouTube. Okay, Kent. Also, Experiments in Stratification is a piece of shit video, which explains why you'd be recommending it.
Stratification. It shows that 8 or 10 layers form simultaneously. They're forming downstream with the current. You flip this thing over, it'll make 10 or 15 layers in just a few minutes.
Yes. And are any of those metamorphic rock, igneous rock? It all would seem to be sedimentary rock, is the entire thing you guys and your little sand toys and your experiments in stratification show. And that's being generous with it. It's just sand layers that haven't become geologic layers yet over the processes that cause that. But in whatever case, they sure as hell ain't igneous and metamorphic. Metamorphic taking a good amount of, here's that word again, time to change states, change their structure to become what they are. And of course, igneous being, volcanic. So you're telling me you had volcanoes erupting with magma flow in between the tidal pumping during the flood. It's just crazy, Kent. Like, you don't think about this at all. You just come up with some basic platitude, but then expect the person you're arguing against, the person who actually believes reality that you're arguing against, to go through a dissertation explaining to you why this or that facet of, in this case, geology is right, for you to just go, nuh-uh, but you can throw out whatever bullshit you want. It's crazy.
Are the layers different ages? No. They're all in here at the same time. So I flip this over to keep you low IQ folks busy. Watch it. Okay, here you go.
Oh, look. This is the thing. The way he talks like he looks so deranged right here. There's your thumbnail, ladies and gents. This is going to be the thumbnail of this video. He talks like that to people. Then gets pissed when people talk to him the same way he wants to talk to others. Fuck you, Kent. You don't talk low IQ. I'm smarter than your ass. I'm smarter than your ass when I was a kid. I'm smarter than you now. When I was in 5th grade, when I was 10. I was more computer savvy then than you are now. But you want to talk low IQ. You want to call people idiots. You want to say they're easily distracted by a sand toy. You're the one constantly playing with your sand toys, Kent. You're the one with SpongeBob everywhere. That creepy ass creationist crybaby, head statue thing up there. Weird shit. Weird shit. But you want to talk about us. You're a bitter old man with no hobbies, no value to your life. You're miserable. You make everyone around you miserable. And thankfully, as time passes on, this really should have happened sooner, but it didn't. The more you fucked around, the more you found out. But, keep on being you. It's fine, Kent. Keep on being bitter. That just gives us more to laugh at.
Watch it for a while, yeah. Okay. The layers are not different ages. The geologic column does not exist. So they're dating the fossils by the layers they're found in, and it's pure baloney. And to say that we know a fossil changed into something else is also pure baloney. Let's see, fossils. We have a huge fossil collection here. I like fossils. Got a bunch of them at our science center. If you find a fossil in the ground, all you could prove is it died. And it was buried rapidly enough to fossilize, okay? You cannot prove it had any offspring. You cannot prove it had offspring that lived. You can't prove it had offspring that lived that were different.
And it's members of populations which, for that entity to exist, likely an entire population existed and survived. And as you find more forms that, you're not going to like this, but are transitional between one form we found, usually in a lower layer, and a more recent form found in a higher layer, slightly more advanced, one could argue, definitely, different, more complex, if you want to use that word, as that's how how we see evolution is, there's generally a bit of complexity increasing there, because that's what adaptation would naturally result in. You're constantly adding stuff, it would appear more complicated from our perspective. Either way, outside of the nuance and using words that are loaded more than, Taco Deluxe at Taco Bell. You're just like, nuh-uh to the whole thing, and it's like, no, we can kind of see that this, these populations looks like in this area, in this particular climate, over this particular period, that these things existed and likely became these things after a good couple of million years, because that's where everything points. Again, you know it lived, it was part of a population. So this whole thing is just no, Kent. How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
Why would we believe a bone in the dirt can do something no animal today can do? Change into a new kind. Why don't we see it happening today? They say, well,
Define kind, dumbass.
it's too slow. Well, why don't we see it in the fossil record? What happened to...
We do. You literally do. But you acknowledge there's a fossil record here, but you say there is no fossil record otherwise. Like, come on, Kent, which is it?
Too fast. It didn't happen at all. There is no fossil record. They talk about this stupid law of superposition. The top layer has to be younger. It's a major principle in stratigraphy, boys and girls. Within a sequence of layers of sedimentary rock, the oldest layer is at the base, and the layers on top are younger. This is pure stupidity. The layers form sideways. This is a lie. It's not true. There is no law of superposition.
Except there totally is. See, this is what Ken does. He just goes, nuh-uh, and literally hand-waved it away. It's incredible how transparent people like him are. They're almost parodies of themselves.
Law of superposition. Younger layers of rock sit atop older. That is not true. If the top layer is younger, where's it coming from? Outer space? Come on now. There's no law of superposition.
You've said that 5 times already, Kent. You are just the worst orator. I would just say fuck it right now, but you all know my policy of committing to making it through whole videos. And this is 30 plus minutes. God damn. Let's keep going.
Let me go back to 25 for these folks here. Let's see. They give an idea of the condition of the Earth in that specific era. All the layers were probably formed in one big flood, 1 year. Noah's flood made all that.
Except they probably weren't, and we know they weren't, so shut up. Your probably means fuck all, Kent.
It says in 2 Peter 3, at the end of time, the scoffers are going to be willingly ignorant of the creation and the flood. Noah's flood made all those layers in 1 year.
This just in, Magic Book of Bullshit says people won't believe Magic Book of Bullshit, film at 11.
The tide going up and down as the moon's going around the earth, the tide pulling up and down would become harmonic if the earth didn't have all the continents sticking up through it. During Noah's flood, covered in water, a harmonic tide would go up and down 200 feet. So if the moon is pulling the water...
Show your work, Kent. Show the math. Pull up your stupid slide and show the math that explains the harmonic tide. Work through the problem so that I can understand that you understand how it works, and I can see how the math works. Otherwise, shut the fuck up. You're just making shit up.
Water up 200 feet as we turn around. That means the water has to be constantly sucked in from the sides to fill that bump that the moon is holding up, the tidal bump. So the water's being sucked in at the same speed the Earth's turning the other way. How fast is the Earth turning? Well, that depends where you're standing. If you're at the North Pole, 0. If you're at the equator, 1,037.6, 0.58 for you technical folks, okay? That's main sea level. Here,
how about 15 degrees per hour? Because that's how you measure rotation. You know. You could use an RPM, but it's a little slow. It's an RPD, rotations per day of approximately 1. You want to get in the absolute velocity, sure, but that's some flat earth crap. That really isn't how you measure such things. You can, but it's not the best way to do it. That's all I'm saying. If you were such a science person, Kent, you would use the better methods. But you're going to quote it like this to try to make your point.
Alabama, 31 degrees above the equator. We're turning 886 miles an hour around the Earth right now. So during Noah's flood, the water is being sucked into the lunar bump, the tidal bump, at 886 miles an hour at this latitude. That water moving sideways is what's going to make all the layers. All the layers formed during the flood of Noah. They're not different ages. I'm sorry. Anyway.
Except they didn't. And they are. And your entire model of the layers forming doesn't work at all, so meh. You're just saying the same shit, and you get paid for this, Kent, so I might as well have to say the same shit in response and get paid on my end. Because it's all about the money, isn't it, Kent? Yeah.
Let's see. Next thing they use for evidence for evolution. Comparative anatomy. Oh, any questions coming up, brother? If so.
You want me to put them up right away?
Yeah, well, just on this topic. Any on that topic? Or?
Not just yet. Nope. There's a couple of different ones we can do at the end, huh? This one, I guess, is related.
What's the difference between a fossil and index fossil? Well, anything that used to be alive that has now turned to stone, like this petrified clam. Got a bunch of those.
Petrified clam. No comment, Kent.
Got a bunch of stuff here, petrified. This was a clam. It's petrified in the closed position, indicating it was buried alive. Because clams die, when clams die, they open right away. The muscle relaxes and they open up. You find seashells along the beach all the time. You very, very seldom find a matched pair because they open up and somebody eats them and they fall apart. So fossils are anything that used to be alive that is...
Kent dumbing brachiopods down to some simple absurdities. Just beautiful stuff.
Now turned to stone. Let's see, how long does it take to make fossils? Let's see. Fossils, how long to fossilize? Scientists bake...
That's not what the person asked, Kent. That's not what the person asked.
A fossil in 24 hours, Smithsonian Magazine, a couple years ago. Huh.
Note the quotes in that, how it was, quote, fossil, unquote, indicating that they're calling it that, as in, you're a, quote, doctor, unquote.
How did this happen? Unfortunately, since the fossilization process takes at least 10,000 years, which is pure baloney, okay, it's not easy to study.
Except it's not, because a fossil definitionally has to be over 10,000 years old. I was explained that by multiple people in my amazing audience. And then I looked it up, and it was shown to be true. Because, a cursory internet search will show what's reality and what's a load of bullshit. And it's funny that cursory searches on everything you say shows it's bull, whereas stuff like my audience will say winds up being, if not 100% accurate to how they described it, they're in the ballpark, which I'd expect for people all just sending their information off the cuff. I'd expect more from someone like you who's supposed to be an expert. To be this wrong constantly tells me you don't know jack diddly.
Paleontologists devised a way to convincingly mimic the process in less than 24 hours. Well, maybe during Noah's flood, you had similar conditions and you could make the fossils from intense heat and pressure from being buried under 80 feet or 500 feet of mud. That'd be a lot of weight. He tells the past experimentation involved wrapping fossils in foil, or sealed containers before putting them in intense heat. But these guys said, hey, let's put them into clay. Well, I think maybe there'd be a lot of clay during Noah's flood formed in the layers.
That's always how he goes with this stuff. If he sees a scientific paper about anything, he's like, oh, well, I think there may be. Always convenient, Kent, that you just happen to think there might be this, that, the other. But notice you've never brought this up before until you learned of this little paper or this little experiment and whatever one would want to call it. And then suddenly, oh, yeah, it's Nostradamus effect, man. Come on. You think we're so stupid we don't see it? Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. You're so stupid you don't see what you're doing. Because you can't genuinely be this blatantly deceptive. To be aware of how dumb your arguments are, how weak they are, and yet still use them. But, if they bring results, get you the money you want, it's not what you need, it's what you want. Keep on playing in your sandpit. Okay.
So the animals buried in the clay would bake into fossils in less than a year. You can read all this article for yourself. Let's see. Why I will never debate Kent Hovind. Because you're a coward.
Hell yeah. And, oh man. Dude. Zadara. Oh, no one caught this. Oh, no. The article explains in detail that there's no point. I'm not a coward. Also, once again, you wanted Sergio to contact me. I'm still waiting on that, Hovind. So, whatever.
That's why, okay. Okay, fossils. Fossil sorting. They say, boys and girls, clams are found at the bottom because clams evolved first. Teacher, maybe clams are found at the bottom because they're already at the bottom when the flood starts. Wouldn't they be the first ones buried? They say birds are found on top because birds evolved last. Maybe they're found on top because they're the last ones to drown in a flood. They can fly around till they run out of gas. Maybe the animals are sorted based upon their habitat. Wouldn't the clams be buried first? That's where they live. Maybe they're sorted based on their mobility. Clams can't run very fast. Maybe they're sorted based upon their intelligence.
Except they're not. And clearly, when you look at the geologic column, you see a progression from what we would define as simpler organisms to more complicated ones, more modern forms, and more basal forms existing lower. Thus showing that as life has progressed on the planet, it has increased in complexity, in diversity, in specialization, perfectly concordant with evolution, to a point where it becomes, kind of indisputable. Except when you guys lie about everything.
As far as anybody knows, clams aren't too smart. Maybe the body density. Clams are 2.5 to 1,000 times more dense than feathers. I think they'd be sorted on the bottom because they're heavier. Got nothing to do with evolution. Anyway, let's go back to 26. Anyway, to answer your question, so an index fossil is, let's see, home. It goes back to the geologic column, an index.
You can't tell what an index fossil is just off the cuff, Kent? You've got to go to your slides? I thought you were an expert. What kind of expert needs to go back to their slides? This should be a basic thing for Dr. Dino. Dr. Dino should know what a fucking index fossil is without having to look it up.
Fossils. What they've done with this stupid geologic column, they gave each layer a name, and they gave it an index fossil. Like, for instance, the trilobites are found down here in the Ordovician or Cambrian era. Trilobites. We got a bunch in the Science Center. So if you find a trilobite, take it to a university. How old is this? Oh, that's from the Cambrian. That's 540 million years old.
Yep, because you don't find trilobites in other layers, do you? Funny, you don't find them below a certain layer, and you don't find them above a certain layer. Almost as if they only existed for that particular period of time. You know, between different forms of sedimentary rock, between different metamorphic rocks, between layers of different igneous rocks. Yeah.
How do you know that's a Cambrian? Well, because it contained a trilobite. How do you know the trilobite's that old? Because it's found in the Cambrian layer. How do you know the layer's that old? Because it contains a trilobite.
Once again, any cursory look into the details on how we date geologic strata will explain in far better way than I could why it's not circular reasoning. Only appears such when you don't know about the processes by which corroborate the dates that are determined. Tree rings, the various radiometric dates, core samples, and ice cores and stuff. All kinds of scientific research that corroborates and matches. Which again, you just hand wave away and say is either wrong, doesn't work, or people are lying about it, or some combination thereof.
How old are the trilobites? 540 million. Well, how do you know that? Because they're found in the Cambrian layer. And how old's the Cambrian layer? 540 million. How do you know that? Well, it contains a trilobite. That's how they do it, folks, and they don't see it. That's a special kind of stupid that
Or, like I've been saying this whole time, you're just wrong and being intentionally deceptive and not explaining the actual details of what goes on, which show why it's not circular reasoning. That's another thing with you conspiracy nuts, is that you think all this stuff is so easy to figure out and that everyone in the world is just so stupid they haven't noticed it, rather than it maybe being something bigger that it's not what it appears to be. But of course that wouldn't help your narrative at all, so you just have to go on and claim conspiracy. And claim everyone in the world's a moron.
probably is incurable. So anyway, thank you for the question. So the only thing the index fossil would be those they have selected to be on their chart. They say if you find a dinosaur, it comes from the Cretaceous period, or Jurassic, like the movie Jurassic Park. There's no such thing as a Jurassic layer. So this whole geologic column is based on index fossils, which they've selected of how they think evolution happened. By the way,
it's a YouTube comment. The platform that Kent's banned on, except that would have been in the chat for this live stream as it was happening the other day. That's funny. And of course Kent won't be aware of it. They're just going to read the comment to him. He doesn't know any better, but you think, for a guy who's supposed to know how his ministry is being run and says that he's not on YouTube, he'd realize, hey, wait, we're still streaming to YouTube. Oh, wait, I forgot. One of the people in the community, when Kent's number leaked, they explained to him that he is streaming on YouTube still. And whether he authorized it or not really doesn't matter. We know he wouldn't care either way. He doesn't care about ban evasion. It doesn't mean shit. When the actual law doesn't matter, what does the terms of service on YouTube matter to him?
trilobite had the most complex eye ever found in nature. More complex than any animal alive today. Some of the trilobites, each eye would have 10,000 lenses. Each of those lenses is connected with a nerve to the brain, so they're seeing 10,000 images with each eye. That's the first animal to evolve. Stop and think. Okay?
No, Kent. No one said that. The only person on the planet who's ever said that the trilobite is the first creature to evolve, was you.
How could someone believe in the flood if we have trees that are dated older than the flood? Okay, good question, fair enough. Tree ring dating. Let me find, is that on here? Tree ring dating. I don't see it here. Might be on video seminar part 1. Yeah, tree ring dating is not an exact science. Trees can produce 2 rings or 3 rings a year. If you have a wet spring, the trees will produce a soft ring. And then if you have a dry summer, they produce a hard ring. Then you have a wet fall, they produce another soft ring.
I'm pretty sure Hovind had a few wet falls when he got out of the shower. Hovind, oh no, I've fallen and I can't get up. Hovind.
They are not annual rings. Sometimes they are, but they're not always annual rings. The oldest tree they've ever been able to find, let's see, we got a piece of bristlecone pine, big log in our science center there. Let me get to...
Yeah, big log like the one you left in Ollie G's toilet back in the day. Hey-oh! Shout out to the birthday stream, because that's how we opened it, was that famous clip. Here we go with the Methuselah tree.
Seminar part 1. Since I asked you to prove me wrong, here's your chance, okay?
And, you know, we have the quaking aspen clonal colony that's older than the Methuselah tree, and many, many other life forms. Because not all of them are trees. All plants, though. Or plant adjacent. That are older than the 6,000 year mark, but you know.
Let's see. Seminar part 1. Gee whiz, I got 14 things open. Okay. Neil, how many things can you open at one time?
Probably way more than 14.
Way more than 14. Okay. Let's see. Seminar, part 1. Okay.
It's funny. He talking to his tech guy Neil. Seems like a decent enough guy. We actually during one of Kent's unplanned YouTube live streams actually got into a slight conversation with him for a moment. Seems like a nice guy. You know, I'll withhold judgment until he does something.
Ice cores, tree rings, human pop. Oh, oldest
An alert message.
tree. What happened? How come it didn't do nothing? Oh, I got to. Why do I have to do that, brother? There. Okay. It's thinking. There we go. Watch this here. This is all the evidences that the Earth is not billions of years old, okay? And for my seminar part 1, my first slide is hyperlinks to each of the different topics I talk about. Oldest tree. There it is, the bristlecone pine in Southern California. This is our log in our science center. It has
Wow, doesn't even acknowledge that it happens to be named the Methuselah tree. You think he'd, go through the thing of using that as an argument for, God's real. Why would they call it the Methuselah tree if they didn't acknowledge Methuselah? Hovind.
700 rings, okay? That does not mean it's 700 years old. It's 30.
Kent, those dry and wet seasons will generally average out. Additionally, adjacent trees of varying ages will show the same patterns. And as we understand the climate of an area over long periods of time and can see the records made by tree rings and stuff, we can start corroborating this stuff, finding the patterns, and being able to piece things together quite well. Especially when you get to fossilized trees, which, surprisingly enough, you can go back and kind of trace the data pretty damn well. It's pretty terrifying, honestly, how accurately we can get, slices of time many, many, many thousands of years ago.
Inches, 700 years old, it may be. Tree ring dating is not an exact science. They can produce more than one ring.
No, it's not, but again, it averages out, and, we're talking with rough values. It doesn't matter if it's, 16,487 or 16,486. It's still got, 16 plus thousand rings to, no, not that many rings. I mean, that many rings through all the samples, but y'all know what I mean. We've still got all of those years to deal with and to contend with. Well, y'all have those years to contend with, which you just hand wave away. Whereas reality actually shows, no, these things are actually a lot older, in some cases, than they should be. I'm just rambling here because Kent has fried my brain, as usual. Got 10 more minutes, let's power through this.
A year. Let's see. Occasionally, trees produce more than one ring in a year. Okay, it's called a false ring, or drought in the middle of a growing season. Okay.
Kind of like you're a false doctor, Hovind. Practicing medicine without a license, Hovind.
Evidence for multiple ring growth per year in bristlecone pine. Creation.com had a good article about that. So you can go back. The oldest tree goes back 8,000 years without being disturbed by Noah's flood, somebody said. Well, that's not true. The oldest tree in the world is 4,300.
No, there's trees older than that, so get bent.
Let's see. What they've done, they've taken different log. They find a log from an old cabin someplace and they find different logs, different places, and they overlap the rings. They match up the rings and overlap them. I'll show you a picture of how they do it.
Yeah, Pondo, the quaking aspen colony, is between 16 and 80,000 years old. So get fucked, Kent.
Let's see.
And there's a road running through it. Seriously, look it up. It's beautiful. And think all those trees are clones of each other. And that this whole massive organism that you're driving through is positively ancient. So beautiful. You just Google Street View. You can just go right there and you're right there in the middle of it. It's insane. Love it.
There, overlapping tree rings. The live tree at the top, then have a dead tree and say, look, those ring patterns match. Look, you can have two trees side by side with different ring patterns. If the one is taller, it blocks the sunlight from the little guy, and his ring pattern is different than the big guy. Then the big guy dies, now the little
Except it's really not.
guy gets all the sunlight, and he gets different ring pattern. This is dumb to do this and claim it's some kind of science. They find a log from some kind of ruins and overlap the tree rings. That's how they get these big numbers, overlapping ring dating. Oldest living tree is, let's see, 4,300, I believe. But see, some trees might have survived the flood.
Now he's onto some slide about the rain shadow, and he's like, I should probably stop.
The purpose of the flood was to kill all the people, not the trees. So there may be some parts of the world might have only been underwater for 3 weeks. Just because Noah's in the ark for a year does not mean every square inch is covered for a year. So some parts might have been covered for a few, and long enough to drown everybody. So that some trees could have survived the flood. Now, a tree on opposite sides
Yeah, all that salt water. I'm sure they would all survive, Kent.
of a mountain will have different ring pattern because as the air goes up the mountain, it loses the rain, called the windward side. Then it goes down, it gets dry coming.
Yes, and you're not going to compare those two sets of trees because they're in different climates.
Down, so it's dry on one side, big trees on the other side. Different latitudes can have it. Prevailing winds can influence. Disease can influence this.
And that would be shown on the entire group of them. There'd be evidence thereof where we'd see a large swath would have been ravaged by disease as compared to the rest.
I cover all this on video number 1.
I mean, this idea that everyone's completely incompetent and that the scientists don't account for all these factors is crazy. Just because they don't explain it in explicit detail in typical, grade school level science books doesn't mean it doesn't happen, Kent. I learned that way younger. I thought about some questions about random things for a minute and was like, maybe the science people know what they're doing. And, yeah, seems they do, buddy.
Okay? Overshadowed. A tree growing in the shadow of a bigger tree will have different growth rings. Good soil versus bad soil. Two plants side by side. Okay?
Yeah, they're isolated from one another. They're in separate pots. They're not right by each other in the same soil. In fact, that's how you got them to be that example, is the fact that one is in shitty soil or otherwise, to take your example, let's just say it's in terrible soil. It's actually probably just not been watered or anything, but whatever. Versus the other one. They've been isolated. You wouldn't compare those two.
Soil conditions can vary next door, causing different growth patterns. General Sherman tree was thought to be 5,000 to 6,000 years old. Yet it only has 2,000 rings. Huh.
I don't know anything on that offhand, but again, I'm sure any cursory literature will explain in detail, and likely the little article he shows there goes on to continue to explain things.
Scientist trims 3,000 years off the largest tree. That was back, I forgot the date on there. I try to document everything I can. Atheists, I'll have 50,000 slides. They'll find one where I didn't document it properly and jump all over that.
No, your whole thing is a load of shit. It's just fun to nitpick. And what's funny is you try to do that with every single scientist, every single bit of science, every single quote you can find ever and nitpick, but you have to be actually deceptive about it. Whereas we just point out a failure in your ability to do your quote unquote job, and you get mad about it. It's funny.
Because you're morons, okay?
Ah, yes, there you go, calling people morons again. It's okay when you do it, but us, reminding the world that you're a convicted tax fraud, that you're a spousal abuser, a PDF enabler, amongst other things. We're bad when we do that. But it's okay to call us morons. Sure, Kent.
General Sherman estimated to be 2,000 years old. That makes
I'm smarter than you. Get over it.
it only the middle-aged giant sequoia, as other trees are believed to be 3,200 years old. Where's the 10,000 or 50,000-year-old tree, guys? General Grant tree. 2005, they moved up a place when the Washington tree lost the hollow upper half of its trunk after a fire. Once thought to be well over 2,000, recent estimates suggest General Grant tree is closer to 1,600. They change the numbers whenever they can, need to.
No, they're getting better information. Estimates versus us being able to actually count things, Kent. We can estimate, we can figure, we can judge, we can take these guesses, but we're not going to cut a beautiful tree like that in half just to decide how old it is, thus destroying it as a way of celebrating it. That makes no sense. But once something happens and it's no longer going to survive, like fire damage or like, actually being felled by, something, then no additional harm can be brought by doing this final bit of research before the remaining material is done with whatever it will be.
Late winter and early spring, trees can handle a week or two of flooding without long-term problems. Tree species vary wildly in flood tolerance. In one extreme, trees that are native to floodplains like cottonwoods can withstand months of inundation. What's the oldest tree in the world? Until 2013, Methuselah was the oldest tree. 2016, the ripe old age of 48. Well, hold on a minute. If the rings are not annual rings, and the flood was 4,500 years ago, this would fit just fine.
Coincidence, I'm going to run it as far as I can, Hovind.
4,300-year-old bristlecone pine, Earth's oldest organism.
Except it's not. Once again, Pondo.
Oldest individual tree was Methuselah, 45. Let's see, that's how many rings it had. It's not the age of it. Another bristlecone pine had 5,062.
Excuse me, Pando. Pando, Aspen.
Again, could have survived the flood or could have many double rings per year. So there's a Methuselah tree. Anyway, sorry for taking so long on one question, but I cover all this on video number 1. A whole bunch of ways to prove the Earth cannot be.
You should apologize every single stream for just taking for fucking ever to say absolutely nothing.
Billions of years old. Okay, a couple more questions there, brother.
Let's see, that's it, Doc.
Okay, let me go back to. Man, I got a lot open here. This is where it always. No, over here.
And there was one question that's completely off topic if you want that one.
Sure, I lost my mouse. There he is. Come here, buddy. Come here. No. Oh, there he is. There he is. Okay. Off-topic questions. I don't ever get those. What are your thoughts on people possessed by demons and exorcisms? I've met some.
Oh, these poor pathetic fools.
This guy was walking through the mall one day, and the devil walked up to him. Said, "You know who I am?" He said, "Yep. You're the devil." He said, "Aren't you afraid of me?" "No." He said, "Why not?" He said, "I've been married to your sister for 25 years.
Oh, there's the boomer humor. I was wondering where it went.
I didn't know the girl. Oh. The idea of demon possession and exorcisms and all that is That's just not a battle I have time to fight. Okay, I'm busy on evolution. Let somebody else do that. Satan is alive and well. He's got a host of demons, and he's doing his job. I don't think a Christian can be demon possessed. They can be demon oppressed.
There's an old quote, but a good one. It's one thing to have imaginary friends. It's another thing to have imaginary enemies.
He cannot come in. The Holy Spirit's living in you, but he can get on the outside giving you a hard time. So that'd be my quick answer to that one. Okay, a couple more, brother?
That's it. Then I see Doc.
They were going to give more evidence for evolution. Let's see, 25. Fossils are not evidence for evolution. Okay, how could they be? Stop and think. Comparative anatomy, the fact that we have similar anatomy to other animals, that's not evidence for evolution. Let's see, comparative anatomy. Let's see, right here. Embryo, homology, that's the same argument, okay? Homology, look at that. We got two bones in our wrist, boys and girls. They're called the radius and the ulna. And the whale has two bones in his flipper, and they're called the same thing. Who named them, teacher? The whale?
And why would we use similar names for them, Kent? Probably because they are structurally identical. Oh, but you claim common designer, when there are more efficient ways to design such functional structures that don't involve such reuse of parts for all the different species out there that share these common traits. Again, this is another thing that's been explained to you ad nauseum. But what I wonder, Kent, is why wouldn't everything be super special and super unique if it was all special creations? Why would it have to all be the same? Is your God that limited, that incapable of imagination that they just have to recycle parts over and over? Seems pretty pathetic. Then again, that's all your God is pathetic.
You think the whale named those bones? This is man putting our interpretation onto things. It's true the animals have similarities of their forelimb. I would agree. What does that prove? Common ancestor, or could it prove common designer? Comparative anatomy is evidence for evolution. No, it's not. Could just as easily be evidence for a common designer. You don't know it's evidence for a common ancestor. Come on, give it up. Okay, 27.
Except we do, because we've seen all the evidence. The multi-nested hierarchy of facts that show evolution being a thing. Never once seen your magical designer. And indeed, evidence points against design, but you wouldn't understand that. It's far above your reading level.
Oh. There. Embryonic, this one makes me angry. Embryo development. We covered that many, many times. The idea that the baby...
Yeah, and AJ tore you apart on that, Kent. Get over it. Cry some more.
Baby growing in the mother has gill slits, proven wrong in 1874. Evolution is the dumbest and most dangerous religious cult in the world. It's because of that stupid teaching that the baby growing in the mother has gill slits, embryology this is called. That's what they use to justify abortion. They're going to say it's not a human yet, it's fish, amphibian, reptile, mammal.
Except no one says that.
Humans and fish embryos resemble each other because humans share fish and fish share a common ancestor. This whole idea of embryology was proven wrong in 1874. Those folds of skin have nothing to do with breathing. They grow into bones in the ear and glands in the throat.
Pharyngeal arches, Kent, which are common traits in the developmental phase and are repurposed for various things, colloquially called gill slits, because in your basic fish, not that that's a taxonomic classification, they would become the gills. It's nice repurposing that evolution does for those pharyngeal arches to become various different structures where necessary. Notice, still related to, still in the same general physical area, and still somehow it keep on going as evolution keeps on doing its adaptive things. It's funny, really funny, because why are they there at all? Why would it need to be the same kind of structure to be two completely different things and two completely different creatures? Just come on, Kent.
I've seen fat folks got 5 or 6 chins. They can't breathe through any of them but the top one. Okay. Haeckel's the guy who made this up. We've been over this many, many times. Took a dog embryo and a human embryo. They have way different number of chromosomes. And he faked the drawings. He changed.
Chromosome number is, for all points and purposes, fucking irrelevant, Kent. You sound like a dumbass more than usual when you bring that up out of nowhere.
Them. Let's see, on top are the accurate drawings. Underneath there's Haeckel's fake drawing. He made these charts. They're still in textbooks today. Biology textbooks got, I don't know, 30 or 40 of them around here from all different publishers. They're still teaching this as evidence for evolution, and it's been proven wrong in 1874. Get it out of the books, guys. That's not evidence for evolution. Okay, one more question, brother? Contradictions, macroevolution. Oh, hey, you guys still watching? Hey, pay attention, making layers. Let's see, why is evolution a religion? There's no moral code or social structure. It's a theory based on evidence and science, not faith. Okay,
Oh, this is gonna be good.
There is no science to back up evolution. None. If so, share it with us, please. It's pure faith. You believe an animal changed into something else. They have these charts that they use. I got one here somewhere. Here we go. Here's the family tree.
Oh, there we go. Where would we be without the family tree chart? He's got to bring it up.
Textbooks teach that the humans and the flamingos and the sunflowers and the frogs have a common ancestor. Where is the evidence of a sunflower ever producing anything other than a sunflower? Or a frog ever producing anything other than a frog? Where's the evidence for that?
And yet, when you're challenged on the fact that you ask for an outright absurdity and something that in no way, shape, or form is what's being explained with evolutionary theory, you say you're not doing that, yet you do this. Just like you say life came from a rock, but you always deny that you say that. You expect creatures to just pop something completely different out when that's not at all what evolution is. And only when held to it will you say, no, I'm not saying that. Yet, in this example, amongst every one of them ever, you totally are. You're just scummy, Kent. Just pathetic. Be sad if it wasn't funny.
Nobody's ever seen a frog produce a non-frog or come from a non-frog. But you think they all came from an amoeba.
Except no, one thing you shouldn't be telling people what they think, that's called being an asshole. Of course, that's what you're an expert on, Kent. And two, again, no, that's not at all what is explained with evolutionary theory. You don't understand anything about it. And at best, you can take simplified charts and try to, again, reduce them to an absurdist caricature of what is actually being taught and the idea being conveyed. Try to take that literally, and your gullible band of idiots go, ha 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 ha, Hovind funny, he right, Hovind.
Amoebas always have baby amoebas, every time, no exceptions. Now, if you wish to believe and imagine that it was different long ago and far away, well, then that's not science. That's what I've been saying for you. You have to believe.
And let's note that this in no way, shape, or form actually addresses the question. Kent just goes back to his believe thing, to which I contest, is gravity a religion, Kent? Is the fact my laptop is running a religion? Is the fact that I run a bulletin board system a religion? Is the fact that I play guitar a religion? Is my interest in phones a religion? I mean, might as well be, but that's besides the point. You know. Is my work name badge sitting on my desk right now a religion? Because I believe it's sitting there. I can see it's sitting there. What's a religion to you, Kent?
It's nothing but a religious belief.
And please explain it with actual words and actual complete thoughts and address the actual question. Don't just Hovind around it, Hovind.
As far as moral code, there's a good one. Let me ask you a question, Gummer. If you believe in evolution, how do you tell right from wrong on any topic?
We're a social species with empathy as an evolved characteristic. Ergo, at base, we try to do things to others that we ourselves would want done to us, and vice versa. Things we wouldn't want done to us, we try not to do to others. And if you extrapolate that over population over a long time, you develop a system of morals and laws that seems to work out pretty dang well. It's pretty straightforward, pretty innate. And yes, there's aberrations. A lot of horrible ones in some cases. Generally, those get worked out. May take some time, though.
Where is your moral standard? Gummer, if evolution is true, how do you tell right from wrong? Is it wrong to go next door and kill your neighbor's baby and eat it?
And, you know, the sickening thing is that that's the example you always go to, and you're getting that little smirk on your face, that's where your mind goes to. That's what you think of with morality. That's where you decide to leap. You came up with that, but you want to call us sick and twisted and evil and morons and horrible. It's like, you're the one coming up with these horrible scenarios. Also, you act like this is the first time you've ever said any of this crap. I'm pretty sure Gummer77 Gaming knows all of your shtick if they're bothering to comment on your stupidity.
The lion does it to the zebra all the time. If we're just animals, come on now, where's your moral code? Yes, evolution has a moral code, saying there are no morals. If it feels good, do it. Adolf Hitler took it to the extreme, as far as with humans. Yeah.
And there goes Godwin's Law. We couldn't finish a Hovind video without him breaking Godwin's Law. What a fucking piece of work you are, dude.
You definitely have a moral code, okay?
All offended and shit, acting like he's not, a complete scumbag.
But you have to have social structure for a religion. No, you don't. Theory based on evidence. Show me the evidence. I challenge any of you. Show me the evidence.
It's been shown to you ad nauseum. You've literally got it on your screen, and you just go, nuh-uh, because fake drawings. Missing the point entirely.
Here, let me go back to the title here, brother. 1, 2, 3. Right here. Evolution is the dumbest and most dangerous religion in the history of the world. Prove me wrong. Nobody's done it yet, have they? We'll do it again tomorrow night. Give you another chance.
Yeah, I'm sure you will, Kent. I think you were just slobbing on Trump's knob the entire night. Or so the video re-upload by a friend of the channel shows.
Get your best evidence. Call in tomorrow night. All right. Thank you so much, folks. See you in tomorrow night.
Good. I made it through this. I didn't think I'd be able to do it, but I did. I have no additional comments. Thank you all for watching. Remember, give the video a like, share it if you feel the urge. If you're not subbed and you made it through this, you probably want to subscribe. I do this a lot. If you can't support the channel in other ways, feel free. Check out the links down below. Check out the options available on YouTube. Otherwise, that is it. I'm out. Much love. Catch everyone later.